with your host, Star Smith. It is Friday night. Friday night. It is almost 10 o'clock. I hope you guys had a good start to the weekend. Get in this live chat with me. I'm going to give you a second to get this going with me. Why are men afraid to look their fathers in the eye and tell them who they are? Let's have a candid conversation about this. Come on, fellas, where you at? We need to have a conversation about this topic. Yes, we're talking about the Michael movie, and we're making some parallels from that to this iteration of life and how we are either progressing forward or digressing back. Why are men afraid to look their fathers in the eye and say, "Hey, Dad, no, I can't do that. That's not something that I'm called to do. I don't want to follow along with the family business. I feel that I'm called to be the CFO of this dynasty." Why are men afraid to say that? Is this a learned behavior? Is it a learned behavior? In the movie, and I put a short out earlier today. Make sure you check that out. I put the short out, and it was a statement, something that I noticed in the film, and it was a biopic. So obviously, this is how things were in this dynamic of this relationship between Michael Jackson and Joe Jackson. Since he was a little boy, his father was training him in the art of manipulation to stay in some levels of control over Michael's life, which then transcended in the lifespan from adolescence, teenager, young adult. He couldn't look this man in the eye. He couldn't look this, he was so afraid to say, "No, no, Dad, I can't do that. I'm making my own music here. I have a vision for myself. I'm not following the footsteps of the family dynasty of the Jackson Five anymore. I've outgrown that image." Why was he so afraid to do that? Why was he so afraid to say that? Men, help me, get in this chat and tell me. You, some things I can't answer because obviously I'm not a man. I'm looking at it from one dynamic of a spiritual awakening, but it also shows the dynamic of control and power that a lot of men face when it comes to their fathers. God forbid if you're raised in a narcissistic household, you're definitely bound to levels of narcissism, which will try to keep you in places of control where you cannot go forward. Put it in a live chat. How many times in your life, man, you got to talk back to me? This is just a conversation. Don't get offended. Don't put your guards up. Sometimes you have to give a testimony of how you came over, through, and over again so that you can help somebody else. How did you get out of the snares of control when you were in a household with your father and you were not able to either voice your opinion and or stand in your own identity? This movie is absolutely epic in highlighting some of the struggles that we face even today with our families, whether it be the mother and or the fathers and the children. Now, granted, in the movie, Michael was iconic, right? He was destined for greatness. And as much success as he had encountered, even in those, in that time and even now, but particularly in that season where he was Thriller, Off the Wall, all these albums off the chart, his father could say the smallest little thing. "Well, you're not really a part of this family anymore because you could just do it all by yourself, I guess, huh? And you don't need us. You just think you're better than us." The smallest little thing triggered him and emotionally he collapsed. I need y'all to talk back to me. How important was it for you to be in a place of approval versus standing in your own identity? When it came to telling your father, men, telling your father, this is who I am. This is what I like. This is what I'm not going to do. This is what I am going to do. Now, I'm talking about when you become an adult here, right? In this movie, Michael he was the bread and the butter for the family, but he was still mentally trapped, chained to the identity of what his father wanted him to be. He said in the movie, it was portrayed as he was sitting down and his father would say something. Now, men, you got to come up and you got to be honest here, because I know all y'all ain't just got it all together. Just like women, we don't. But you got to at least tell some other brothers and some other gentlemen out here, hey, man, it's okay for you to be your own person. And there was one particular guy in the movie, which was his driver, that gave Michael the license to go forward and to be that voice in his life to say, you ain't got to deal with that. You just go ahead and move out. You have age. You can get your own place. But Michael wasn't ready. He said, no, he ain't never going to change. Your dad never going to change. You have to be the one to change, and you have to be the one to say, you know what, Dad, I'm out of here. I done made everybody millions of dollars. You done exploited me, right? You done made money and marketed contracts and different avenues of advertisements and things that I wasn't a part of, but you put my name on it to use my name for your goodwill. And at this point, I'm taking my identity back and I'm going to go ahead and follow my own path. Why are you afraid to say that? You people have such a hard time. We could tell the whole world off with no problem, right? And I'm a witness, and I'm one of them. You could tell the whole world, or every piece of your mind, as we say, I'm going to give everybody a piece of my mind. We could do that with the world or people outside of our home without a problem. When it comes to talking to someone, your parent, when you're an adult, I'm not talking about when you're a kid and you just being rude and disrespectful. When you're a man with a family, now I'm adding this dynamic. In the movie, Michael didn't have a family, but in my own experience, you're a man or you're married to a man who can't tell another man in another household, hey, Dad, we don't do that over here on Blue Street. That's what we did on Red Street when I was under your roof. But now that we're on Blue Street, this is the dynamic of our family and how we do things. Are you afraid that you won't have the approval? Or are you so bound mentally to the identity that was beaten upon you to be something or to be someone who your father was not? How often are we becoming the people that our parents weren't? Because they failed in some areas. And he kept saying in the movie, y'all don't want to be poor. Y'all don't want to be poor like me. Y'all don't want to work at a steel mill. Y'all don't want to do this. So I gotta fear tactic you into being what I want you to be, so that you can have the reward and you can have the reciprocity of the blessings that I want, that I wasn't able to accomplish myself. If I'm the father speaking third way of talking about it. I want you to be what I wasn't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to manipulate you into being what I could not be. And then I'm going to fault you and fail you if you don't become the man that I never became. Where are we doing that at? Where are we doing that at in 2026? There's still brothers out here. When I was married, I would be like, well, why are you doing that? You're trying to mimic something that you saw a man do that failed at doing it, and then you reproduce failure because you're so afraid to stand out on your own two legs and feet to do something different. When the woman with you is saying, you know what, honey, I don't think that will work for our family. I don't think that, we should just live in this big, audacious house and we can't afford the mortgage payment. Just because somebody's seen their father buy a big, audacious house for their mother and thought that that was going to make her happy and stay in a relationship because he wanted to still continuously be immature and do several things outside of the home, for instance. Okay, well, I don't think I should go to college. Well, Dad, I was thinking about I don't think I'm gonna go to college. Well, why not, son? Well, you didn't go to college, so I got to go to college. Well, you have to do this if you're going to be that. Well, no, that was your path or the lack thereof. I'm going to choose a different path. Well, why is this conversation hard to have now that you need to step into your own individualism so that people can respect the person that you are. In this movie, Michael said to everybody, the first thing that we need to do if you want to manage me, you got to fire my dad. They wanted the business, obviously, so they're saying, okay, well, you know, we can fire your dad. You sure you want to do this? Michael, absolutely. The first thing we got to do, we got to get rid of Joseph. Well, that's your responsibility. He didn't take off to where he needed to go emotionally until he stood up to his father. Up until then, he was trying to get everybody to do something for him with his father to give him the freedom that he needed. But it didn't happen until he did it. There's some things that we're not going to be free of until we become the person in the identity of knowing we're empowered to be who we were called to be. Thank you, Mom. Thank you, Dad. You got me here in the earth. You raised me. You cultivated me. You nurtured me. You've given me all these tools. Okay, now it's time for God and I to go on this journey together so that I can become. And God forbid you have children and then you still mimicking the behavior that your father once demonstrated with you onto the next generation. So now we got a plethora of generational cursing that's going through our family lineage because you fail to just step into the identity that God has called you to be. And I'm going to make a parallel to this. I know y'all don't want to talk about it, but listen, this is live. It's 10 o'clock. Tune in with me, the Menu All Star podcast. We keep it real after 9 o'clock. This is just what it is. Listen, in the Bible, in the scripture, I didn't say it. The scripture said it. You take it up with God if you got a problem with it. God said, Abraham, you are going to have to leave your father's house. If you want what I have for you, you gotta take this woman, take this, don't take nobody else, and go to a place where I've prepared for you. How many times is God allowing you to hear his voice, to be able to make the decision to obey, to go to an unfamiliar place, whether it's a new city, a new state, a new neighborhood, a new job, a new opportunity, a new marriage, whatever the new thing is, but you get so stuck on, well, I can't leave my father because what will they do without me? Abraham said, okay, well, I'm gonna go, but I'm just gonna take my nephew. Well, nobody told you to take nobody outside of what God's instruction was. And so on the journey, you taking people with you that's not even supposed to be with you on the journey. Now I'm kind of moving around with this conversation, but you got to keep up with me. It's 10 p.m. here. This is the Menu All Star podcast. So we switch up things. If it's spiritual, it's natural, it's universal. So we're going to talk about right now, why are men so afraid to stand up to their fathers and look their fathers in the eye and say, no, this is not who I am anymore. This is who I am, and this is who I've become. And my family or my individual self, I'm going to operate in the realm that I feel that I'm being led to call to greatness, or to the next road, or to the next journey, or on the next promotion. This is what I'm called to do. Dad, no, I can't work in the plant because you worked in the plant for 50 years. No, I can't be a police officer or go into the military just because you went into the military and you became a police officer. That's not my destiny. That was your destiny. That was grandpa's destiny. That's not my destiny. Maybe I'm called to the hospitality industry. Maybe I'm called to the financial district. I'm not called to go to war. Some things happen in a season or a time period or an era that men had to do certain things. Well, now you're in 2026. What is it that you're not doing that you're called to do, but you're not doing it because somebody in your family, i.e., your father, is saying, well, why are you doing that, son? Or they make it seem as if every decision you make is is something that either is stupid or is senseless. Have you ever had that experience where your father, you would come up with an idea or you would say something and they would be like, well, why are you doing that, son? Well, if I need to make a mistake, Dad, that's just what I'm gonna do because I feel led to do this. Well, I just don't think that's just the right idea. Well, why not, Dad? Tell me. And there's never a reason why something is right or wrong. It's just their opinion. And then you, as a man, now I'm not trying to go off on the men because I love you and because we have a great audience, but I'm just trying to bring an awareness and empower you so that you see things beyond the natural and the tactics of control and the tactics of manipulation that sometimes play a part in the development of these relationships. And then you become these husbands to women who want to control them. Well, we don't want that no more. You can buy the Bentley, you can buy the 12,000 square foot house, you can buy the mink coats, the fur coats, you can buy the boats. If you have a control problem, that woman gonna leave you. She gonna leave you with all that stuff, all that material, all that material bait that you use to get her and to keep her. You're still gonna lose because people have to feel free. That's how God made you. You have to feel where the Spirit of the Lord is, there is liberty. People want to feel liberated. You're very seldom going to keep people in your life where you feel you have to use some level of force. They're going to leave you, even the children. You get one kid, 12, whatever it is. If you use levels of force and control and manipulation tactics to try to keep anybody at any time under any circumstances, they're going to leave you and they're going to resent you. Like and subscribe if you understand what I'm saying here. I know I'm on a rant, but I'm trying to wake you up. It's 10 o'clock, right? Everybody should be up now. It's Friday night. You're with the Menu All Star Podcast. I'm your girl, Star Smith. I'm trying to help you. We're trying to help each other. Here's a point that I also wanna throw out there, and you tell me what you think. Hopefully, you guys saw the movie. Mother Catherine, she rarely said anything, right? So she's seeing Joe Jackson beat her son. Wait a second, because I could preach this message just right now off of that. And I'm not blaming nobody, but I'm just making a point because they put the biopic out. I'm just dissecting it. Mother Catherine, Mother Catherine saw Joe beating her kid and didn't say nothing. Women, do y'all resonate with that in 2026? You would see a man, even if, his father, let's say you've seen your children or your child's father beating your son, and you don't say nothing. Where are we doing at it? Where are we doing at it? I know it hurt because some of you in the situation right now, and that's probably why you're so hush mouth and you're so quiet about it. But I'm trying to bring an awakening here. If you sleep, stay asleep, because we don't need you on here with your weak comments. You can get off and go to another channel. It's free. Thank you. Have a great day. Where are we doing that at? Where the mom or the mother of a child is allowing the father to beat this child, and to the point where they go hide in the room, lock the door, and go in the corner and be afraid to come out until the man goes to bed. Are we doing that? Right? Thank you for everybody that's tuning in. Could it have made a difference before it got to where it was? Because she started to speak out, but it took a very long time, years, for even her to stand up to this man that I believe was beating her, abusive to her, but was abusive to her children, because he wanted them to be perfect in playing and performing when they were just little children going to school on a daily basis. And he pulled them out to make them a rock star group. And if they didn't do what he asked them to do correctly, according to his way, he was going to beat you. Right? And as their mother, she didn't say anything. She watched it with her head down. Could it have been that Michael's passiveness came from his mother? Well, if mom not standing up to him and saying something to protect me, how am I going to protect myself? And this is a child. This is what they're thinking. If mommy is not standing up for me and my brothers are not standing up for me, then how am I going to stand up for myself? Because I don't have an example. How many times, women, are we in the house? And I hear this all the time now that we have this podcast. When the women in the house, let's say it's your mother, she know that the man is molesting you as a daughter, her daughter. She knows stepdad is molesting you. And she never says anything. She walk around like this. Oh, I don't see nothing. Oh, and then the child goes and tell the mother, well, stepdad, he came into my room last night. Oh, you're lying. That didn't happen. You're delusional because you're so afraid to lose a man versus standing up for your daughter. That happens more than what people really realize. You hear women so often now, my mom knew, but she never did anything. She knew that this person was raping me. I told her that this person raped me, and she acted like it didn't happen and kept the man in the house. Kept him in the house. How often are we doing that, women? If Mother Catherine could have said something, or would have said something, or should have said something, maybe Michael would have had more confidence and empowerment going forward, empowered in his identity to be greater and to be great, prior to having to go through a whole laundry list of people to do dirty work for him. meaning firing his dad. And even firing his dad, that didn't even get him the respect that he wanted from his father. His father confronted him in the movie and said, "Oh, you faxed your man. You had a person fax me a letter to fire me. How dare you?" Even in that moment in the movie, Michael couldn't even say, "You know what, Dad? I don't need your services. I'm doing very well on my own with my own team. You need me just as much as you think I need you." It was nothing said. It was this head down. So he knew he had levels of control over this young man. He knew he had the power and he still had the chains wrapped around his neck. He knew that. And he manipulated that and he extorted that consistently and constantly. So how much more so when you know you're not right spiritually and you know somebody is taking advantage of you, you can feel that here in your spirit. You can feel it in your gut. People say it's a gut feeling. You can feel that. And something ain't right. I don't like how this feel. I don't like how I'm being treated. And how often do we just go closed mouths because, oh, it's such and such, we can't confront him, we can't confront her, and so you go around diseased. That's where a lot of diseases come from, the word disease. You're diseased about something that happened, which causes now an attraction to everything that can cause that to confirm that, you know what, this is diseasing me, because we won't stand up and say something that could liberate us from all of those chains and all of that bondage and all of those tactics. And it may not happen just one time. You may have to consistently tell people, you know what, no, I ain't doing that. Well, I used to do that, but I ain't doing that no more. I kind of outgrew that. That stage for me, Dad, that has passed. No, I don't want to play video games. I want a toolbox for my Christmas gift, right? My son told me he told his dad, I want a toolbox. And his dad laughed because his father never bought him a toolbox to say, you know what, son, just see what your gifts could be. See what anointing of carpentry that God just put in you. Just see what you can try to fix on in the house and take on different projects. No, because nobody never sat with his father and said, you know what, you can be this, you can do that, you can explore some gifts that are in you. So he laughed at his own son. And he'll come on here and he'll tell you there's nothing to hide about it. It is what it is. If I can't tell you what's going on in my closet, then how am I going to expect to help clean out your closet? I said, Jay, how did that make you feel? Mom, I didn't pay any attention. And I knew that I didn't want a video game for Christmas or whatever the holders and different parts of the video games the console. He said, I didn't want any of that. I just wanted a toolbox. Well, now you're growing in an identity where you're becoming more of a man in your own stead, and that scares men. That scares your father. So I said, Jay, I hope you didn't take offense to that because that just shows his level of immaturity and it shows your level of maturity and how you're stepping out of the identity that somebody else has painted for you. And that scares people, but good, because it needs to scare people because they have to grow up. And if you stay small, they stay small. Then you marry somebody and they running your whole household. They running you, your wife, your kids, the grandchildren. They running everything because you're scared to say something or tell people who you're not gonna be. I'm thankful for all of you that have come into this live. Listen, if you're afraid to stand up for yourself or tell a person, particularly we're talking about fathers because we're depicting some things from the movie with Michael. If you're afraid at this point in your life and you're over the age of 18 and you can't go to your dad, spiritual dads too, and say, you know what? I don't want to do that. I don't want to work there. I don't want to be in the family business. I don't want to go to the military. I don't want to be in law enforcement. I don't want to be in this kid group. I don't want to sing country. I don't want to do that because you wanted me to do that. Because you didn't do something, now you want me to do it so you can feel good about your life. That's not my responsibility, Dad. Whatever train you missed getting where you were supposed to go, that's your responsibility. That's your fault. I'm taking a plane to where I gotta go now. And if you don't like it, I guess I'll see you on the other side of the track. You gotta be able to do that. Going back to Miss Catherine, like I said, if she probably would have said something, we could have cut down all of that chaos maybe a long time ago. But women, we're sometimes so afraid to stand up. Well, I'm just gonna let him beat the boys, and and then cry about it. Well, why are you crying? Because you've allowed this, and the children are mimicking your emotional behavior, and they're mimicking your lack of response and the mimicking the lack of protection because you're afraid to stand up when somebody's hurting somebody. And then you get the courage now because he didn't got beat almost to death. Now you want to stand up and say something. She said something after the young man had the burn from the Pepsi commercial that he didn't want to do, that his father led him to doing in some type of contract, manipulating him even into that. And he ended up in the hospital with third-degree burn down to the nerves of his head and had to wear a wig and transplant, periodically taken out, put back in, hair transplants because he had such nerve damage. And the mother then at that point said, "I'm sorry, son. I should have did something." And Michael said, "Well, nobody can really stop Joseph." Well, maybe if Miss Catherine would have said something a long time ago, her son wouldn't have been laying in the hospital bed. No, we can't stop everybody, and no, we can't be the hero, but we can at least show some level of protection. We can at least show this is unacceptable and make a decision to get our children out of a situation when we know that it can harm them, hurt them, or endanger them. Put it in the chat if you know what I'm talking about. Like I said, you would be surprised at the number of women that now come in their full adult age, over 40. I told my mom, that I was being raped and I was being molested, and she didn't do anything. And then you have a bad relationship. Now I'm going to the mothers and the daughters. Now you have a bad relationship with mom because she didn't protect you. And now mom is trying to figure out, well, why my daughter don't want to have a relationship with me. And then she stayed in denial about the thing, the offense, the crime, the molestation, the rape that happened to her daughter just to keep the man. How many times have we heard this story? And guess what? The man ended up leaving anyway. And then the wife or the woman that remains from when the man left blames the kid. Like, how idiotic is that? Right? We're celebrating the movie, the icon, the greatest of all time, which is exactly who and what he was. But there's pieces of the family that chipped away at his confidence, and there was responsibility and accountability that even his mother didn't take when she should have, because she was a parent of parental authority in Michael's life. And that shows us that sometimes we got to say things that are uncomfortable. We got to talk about stuff that's uncomfortable. God forbid if a man is in my home, father, no, if he's a father or whoever he is, I done brought him into my home, and you're going to go into a room to molest somebody's daughter under my watch? No, we ain't doing that. We're not doing that. I had a client, she was telling me something was off, and I'm just saying what she said. Something was off. And I just felt that, um, why is she up at wee hours in the morning and then he come out the room? Red flag. If it's anything past 12 a.m., matter of fact, 9 p.m., and you see your daughter coming out of a room, and then the husband or the boyfriend or the man, whoever, comes out of a room and they look and something looks and feels off, it's off. Then she's wondering, well, she don't talk to me that much no more. She don't come around. Well, I'm sure she don't, because something happened and she probably tried to tell you, and then you act like it didn't happen. And then you didn't get rid of the guy. So now you got your kids walking around in the house feeling like a prisoner. Listen, it's 10:25 p.m. Friday night. You're tuned in with the Menu All-Star Podcast, your host, Star Smith. I'm not holding you up here. I'm giving it to you raw, the way that it should be given, because a sound of an alarm has to go off. It has to go off when you're raising children or when you're in a household with children and someone is beating, molesting, raping, mistreating, hurting in that environment, and you say no thing, right? We're talking about both sides of the spectrum, because I'm not leaving the women out either. But the conversation topic was geared more towards, why is it so difficult for these men now, of age, of an adult, you're over the age of 18, even if you're 18, to say, you know what? Let me look this man to man in the eye with respect and have a conversation about what I'm not going to do, and I'm not going to be exploited, and I'm not going to do this just because you did that. Why are we not doing that? We spend years and years and years in therapy because of something that happened from a moment or moments when we could have just stood up for ourselves. We could have been nipped this in the bud a long time ago, Miss Catherine. If you disagree, put it in the chat. If you agree, that's cool too. But we could have nipped this in the bud when you was beating Michael half to death because he wouldn't do the two-step, right? If you would have just said, you know what, Joe, that's enough. Go get out. I'm gonna call the police on you because this and this. And yeah, I know that everybody want to keep their family tight knit, but if your son is about to be beat half to death, how much so are you gonna still have a family if you're afraid to say something? And then you're teaching timidity, and in a way that causes children of that age to say, you know what, I'm disempowered. I have nobody speaking up for me. So I'm not going to speak up for myself. Tell me what your thoughts are. Keep this conversation going. When I sign off, I want you guys to continue to put that in the chat. The chat has been growing tremendously. We have people commenting and encouraging one another. And we talked about the family dynamics of when you have to start to stand up for yourself, and then you may have to move away. How many times the people in our own families have hurt us, and we have to step away for a season to be able to be healed and renewed and refreshed and set free and forgive. Sometimes that takes space to do that, right? So we're getting a lot of community chatter, which is fantastic. I read all of your comments and I appreciate, I post them because I want people to see that we're a community that's engaging with each other to try to not try that also enlarges our universe with one another so that we can live better and do better and be better and produce an energy that attracts more and positive of the things that we want. I'm going to sign off. I appreciate all of you. Make sure you continue to comment, like, and subscribe. Share this video. I'm going to come back in a few days so we can chit chat about some of the things that, some of you left in the comment, and to bring some other revelation into the conversation. Like I was saying, sometimes as Abraham was told by God, it's time for you to leave your father's house. Even when the children of Israel was wandering through the desert, He said, you know, I brought you out of Egypt and I brought you out of the house of bondage, right? So the house of bondage represented the familial ways, habits, means, routines that kept you in bondage. God said, I delivered you from that. Not only from the physical place of Egypt, but the mental state of oppression and depression and the ways of manipulation that you stayed a slave. I brought you out. And then I brought you out of the routine, the structure, the house where you learned and grew and was nurtured into being a slave. I brought you out of that. And yet and still you're out here free and don't even know how to be free. Be free, my people. I appreciate you. I'll get with you soon. It's been 40 minutes. I got to go and sign off. This is the Menu All Star Podcast with your host, Star Smith. Have a fantastic weekend, and I'll see you guys real soon. Talk to you later.